AA land. I'm searching for land in Monroe County. Can I just text you a price for your land? Sure, it's high enough.
Get that on my car. Twice a year, people say, call me and selling your car. Yeah. So weird.
I get texts all the time asking if I want some kind of
How do they know what happened?
student loan cancellation.
She'll actually leave a note on my windshield.
Oh, on your windshield.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Kathy, can you hear us?
Looks like she's muted.
You're,
Yes, I can hear you.
okay.
Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Hey,
As soon as you tell me we're on, Tom, we can begin.
We are, when you are ready.
All right, go. Call this, executive committee meeting of the Waste Reduction District of Monroe County, Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 to order. I will note that all three members of the committee are here. Council member Isabel P. Smith, Commissioner Penny Givens, and Jeff McKim. We're all present in the Showers 100B room. We have a bunch of meeting minutes approvals here, so let's just motor through these because most of these are, yeah, but let's deal with July 29th, 2024 first.
Move approval of the executive committee meeting minutes from July 29th. Second.
A motion, a second. Any other comments about these minutes that haven't already been presented?
Just note that Commissioner Gibson did provide some revisions via email, and those have been incorporated into the copy here.
Saw quite a few.
I didn't have time this time, so I appreciate it.
All right, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Then next we'll consider the executive committee executive session minutes, which are always so exciting, for August 16th, 2024.
Move approval. A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can we do all four of the executive committee executive sessions at once?
Sure.
Yes, I believe it's.
Okay, go ahead and make a motion.
I move approval of the executive committee's executive session minutes from 8:16, 8:26, at 1 p.m., 8:26 at 2 p.m., and 8:30:24. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, then we have a review. This is not a voting item, just a review of the Board of Directors and Citizen Advisory Committee joint meeting minutes from June 18th, 2024. Is there any discussion?
July 18th.
Okay, the agenda says June 18th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're not voting on it. These previously have been reviewed. I think Ms. Peanut Smith has previously provided some revisions that were incorporated into the version that the CAC looked at their last meeting and subsequently approved, and that is the version here for consideration to take to the board for approval that the CAC has already approved.
If there are no comments, then we can move on to the review of Board of Directors meeting minutes for August 8th, 2024. And this was the meeting that I was not present at. Anything you want to say about that?
So we Thompson and Thomas got fixed, right?
Yes. Should be correct in the version that will go into the board packet.
Okay. Nothing else, then we'll move on to the controller position.
Okay, so some update, or I guess an update, since the memo that's in the packet was produced. As instructed after we concluded our interviews on Friday with the last interview, I did check references on the identified candidate, and I have, if you want copies of my notes that I produced for you, you can have them, but nothing negative was said. They all indicated dependable, trustworthy, hard worker. Did talk with the former treasurer at the Everett Orange School District, that she was responsible for and managed payroll for up to 900 employees at any one time. It fluctuated, obviously, being that large of an organization, including payroll and taxes, good understanding of spreadsheets, of government reporting. They just, none of them could say enough good things about her. And so with that, given how the board, or the action that the board took at the last board meeting, deferring the actual hiring decision to the committee, then be brought back to the board for ratification. I think at this meeting, if the committee wishes to move forward with an offer, we need to make a motion and at least have consensus, if not a vote, on extending that offer to the selected candidate.
Since that's a personnel decision and this is a public meeting.
Well,
We don't have to name the candidate, right? Yes.
no, I think
Oh, maybe we can.
Yeah, we had a conversation.
you can interview and vet the candidates in an executive session. But I believe an offer of employment has to be done publicly. And in the past, that's how we, I mean, I know when Ms. Martin was hired for the first time, did all the vetting and interviews, but the actual vote to offer the position was done at a public board meeting.
Yeah.
Go with the name.
So I guess I can make a motion to offer the position to Amanda Hoffman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll say thank you for following up on the references. We did have, I feel like we had 3 excellent candidates, but I think this is the right decision, and I'm pleased that the references came out so strong.
It was a pleasure to talk with them there. And then to hear about their experience with her.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of making an offer of employment to Amanda Hoffman, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, you've got your direction. Next, we have the resolution 2024-09 for additional appropriation.
Killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. The first part of this, I think it's probably been since the end of last year, beginning of this year, but previously discussed where last October, we were notified that Bank of New York Mellon was increasing our annual fee for the bond management from $400 to $750. That was obviously done after our budget was adopted. So we do need to ask that additional $350 appropriation for the debt service fund to cover that fee for this year, which in October or November is when that gets paid. So that's one that needs to be done. And since we were doing that, I guess staff is trying to take advantage of the situation. Maybe that's the wrong term to use, but with our education and training room, it is a room that we have historically used fairly regularly for both, in-house or bringing out outside entities in to train district staff as well as host some staff for the trainings for the HHW task force and some other things. Now with Purdue Extension Services in the office, the room is getting a lot more utilization, and we're dealing with tables that are old and in poor condition. The chairs that are in there, I know have been there for over 20 years because we've not bought new ones since I've been with the district. So I think those are the original chairs purchased when the building was built that are, still serviceable, but some are missing feet. lots of stains on the upholstery and stuff. And it just seemed like an opportune time to replace the tables and chairs, and also, look at doing some upgrading on the room with how training presentations have changed with the technology. So in addition to the furniture, we're asking for money to get 2 large display monitors. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with the room. Currently we have a whiteboard and a pull down screen kind of centered in the room. The idea with the monitors would be to mount the monitors on either side of that whiteboard and leave the whiteboard there. That certainly potentially still has some use, moving forward. But to put the larger display monitors will eliminate the need to have a projector positioned somewhere where people would be seated for training or education purposes, and also help with visibility of the presentations or whatever material is being presented. So it is a $10,000 investment, but I don't foresee us moving out of this building anytime soon. We certainly hope that the county chooses to continue to house Purdue Extension Services in our building. That's a relationship that's working out very well for both entities, I think. So I think it's a worthwhile investment in that room, given the use that it has now, and I think potential for more uses if we do the upgrades.
Will the extension be able to use the equipment?
Oh, absolutely.
Training in there.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea would be just to bring the monitors down to a docking station. So you just plug a laptop or a computer into them, and there would be no, other than whatever computers plugged into them, security, there would be no security to access, the monitors. Also looking, ideally would do that as well as have monitors that had the wireless broadcasting capabilities as well. So you potentially wouldn't have to use the docking station. It could do it from a tablet or something.
I have a few questions. $350 for a chair of the design that is shown.
That's a 10-pack.
Oh, that's for 10 chairs.
It's a total of 100. We're looking at a total of 100 chairs. According from the information we got from fire marshal, that room without tables has 120 person capacity.
Okay, all right.
If we just had chairs in the room, we should be able to put over 100 people in the room and still be within fire code.
Okay,
Is 2 tables enough?
so 15
15
tables.
tables.
Oh, okay.
And then why do we need 2 display monitors?
Well, like I said, the idea was to leave the whiteboard we have in the center and put the two on either side of it. And so with 15 tables, that would give us the ability at 6 foot. So basically, this is pretty close to what we're looking at getting. We'd be able to have 3 tables with aisles between 5 rows. So then, since you're going out to the outside of the room on both sides, having the monitors up on either side would allow for better visibility.
Because if you only had one, the people on the kind of the opposite end would be pretty far away.
Well, yeah, or we have to take that whiteboard down just to center the monitor, and then we lose. I do know that that Purdue, with some of their 4-H groups, they still regularly use that whiteboard.
And it is mounted on the wall.
Yeah, part of the estimated the miscellaneous hardware and wiring cost includes mounts for the team, for the monitors.
Right, but the whiteboard is
Oh,
mounted,
yes,
so it
yes.
couldn't easily be moved to the side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's bolted into the wall. It could be moved, but it would, yeah.
And then my last question is on the text of the resolution itself. It doesn't say anything about the furniture or the computer equipment or why we need it. Can you add?
Oh, I said what in the now or
In the whereas clauses that we talked
Yes,
about.
yes,
That's
yes. I was worried about just getting the figures in there that apparently got lost in the shuffle somewhere as well.
And so the idea is you'll have the board vote on this and then take it to the county council.
Yes, and you see that's in the now therefore, that's what it indicates. It's approving staff to take the request to the county council.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so you
I
don't need
think sorry,
no, please.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a good investment, and I've seen those chairs, and they need to be replaced. They are sad.
I like the new chairs that the county just got for the Nat Uno room. Those are really nice. I don't know where you guys got those from, but
Angie, yeah, I don't know.
you'll see them tomorrow or whenever, I guess, next week when you come. Nice new chairs. Okay, well, if we don't have anything else on that, then we'll move on to the resolution 2024-10, the declaration of surplus property.
Let's see. Yeah, so this is as you can see, an old 1989 model year, but it's a semi-trailer that we previously used when we were doing more sorting of our paper products. A lot of that was going onto this semi-trailer and being hauled up directly to Quincy Recycle up in Indianapolis. The Republic still got the money for it, not us under the contract, but at any rate, so now that we are commingling all of that mixed paper, we're no longer hauling stuff directly to Quincy Materials. So this trailer's become obsolete for us. It's also currently at our mechanics, and he has said that, you know, when this is due for DOT inspection next year, it's going to need some money to pass that inspection. So it's in need of some pretty substantial repair. It did not give me a dollar figure on that, but again, it's kind of, in my mind, kind of moot because it's become obsolete for us, and it is in disrepair. And we actually do have a party that's interested in purchasing it just to put it on their property as a storage unit. So
How much do you think we'll get for it? I mean, I know it's worth nothing. I'm just curious.
we're in about the $500 range right now.
Cost of hauling away.
Yeah. Okay,
Well, and we don't have to pay to move it.
that's, yeah, it's also cost to haul it, right?
Yeah.
Paid for more than 10 chairs.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Any other comments about this? I have to say, I had to look up the word Gaylord. I didn't know that was the thing.
Big boxes, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, okay, so next we'll move on to the draft RFP for recycling, processing, municipal solid waste disposal and material hauling services.
Yeah, and this really not anything different than what was presented. It was in May or June. And at that time, the decision was made to sit on this till we got through the budget process. So now that we still have to go before the county council, but for staff and our board's purposes, the budget process is done. So as requested, bringing this back to the board for their consideration.
So is there anything in particular that's new or that you want to call attention to?
No, nothing has changed from, I guess, other than a couple of typographical corrections that were pointed out recently. But the substance of the RFP has not changed from what was presented back in the spring.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was just saying, so you intend to kind of facilitate or lead the presentation of this to the board?
Yeah.
I think you did add on item 3, page 46 of the packet, under submission of proposals, number 4, statement of sustainability initiatives, because we talked about that, but there's a typo there. It should be initiatives and not initiates. See what I'm talking about? 3.1.2,
Wait, what page?
What
page 46 of the
46.
packet.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think we should initiate people into sustainability practices?
I wouldn't want to subject them to the hazing ritual.
No, that's not allowed.
That you would lead.
When you present this to the board, will you have a kind of proposed date for the due date and the opening, the bid opening?
Yeah, I mean, we can, or, you know, a range to, you know, a lot of it depends, how fast we want to make things happen, or is there a desire to line it up with the end of the current renewal term with the existing contract, which would be May 1. Probably going to wind up close to that time frame anyway at this point. But yeah, we can certainly.
How long do you think it should be out to bid? Or whatever you call it. How long do you usually give people, a month?
Well, I mean, a lot of that depends on the project.
60 days?
It's short.
Yeah, for this.
I think a month is reasonable, but on the short end of reasonable, so maybe 6 weeks. And, you know, and a lot of it depends on, also on, you know, who's responding. And I think, you know, some of your larger waste management companies are used to these things and they're, you know, they're ready to go. They know what they're putting together. You know, but if we have, you know, a smaller entity or somebody that just deals with one component or one material or something, it may take them a little longer to put it all together.
So are we going to entertain motion to, wait a minute, you had a couple options. Where are they? I'm considering the district to issue the RFP. Okay, because then we have a couple options, right? Notify Republic that we're terminating the current contract, or do we not notify them and just issue the RFP, and then the timing of the RFP? Yes, so there are a few things for the board to decide here.
Yeah, and within that as well, you know, if, you know, given that you have the 100, you know, the current agreement will automatically renew unless one party provides that 120-day notice. So, you know, if the decision is made to issue this, you know, we also have to consider the timing of when responses are due and our ability to evaluate them in what time period. And, you know, part of that, I guess, and maybe I should have changed that a little bit, because back in the spring when this was first presented, the decision had been made to move forward at that time. You know, we potentially had the option to issue this, decide we don't like any responses, and let the existing agreement renew, assuming that Republic can't provide notice because we made the RFP. Given where we are now, it's in all likelihood, the deadline for that 120-day notice is going to come and go before we've had time to adequately review and assess the responses that we get.
120 days from May
From May
1st,
1.
that's 4 months, so that's
Yeah,
February 1st.
February 1st, but you know, it's, you know, depending on, you know, if we get, you know, a number of responses back, and a lot of those are, we just want to do glass, we just want to do paper, that's going to take staff a while to vet all of that stuff. So we, you know, and I think we had, I think in the RFP, we had offers had to be good for 90 days. Just to make sure that we had time to adequately review everything before, you know, before making a recommendation. I assume the board will want a recommendation from staff.
So if, let's say we set the RFP deadline for November 1st, that would give us 3 months, 90 days. That would put us at the end of January. So yeah, we would be hitting that 120-day notice to Republic.
And, you know, in all likelihood, I mean, in all likelihood, Republic is going to respond to this and they're going to issue the notice because they're not going to want us to consider a competing offer between themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we issue this in all likelihood, Republic will notice us that they're not going to let the existing agreement renew, but it won't take anything for granted, but I would be surprised if they didn't.
I mean, do you think particularly given the schedule that is about, the notional schedule that is about was mentioned, would you be able to devote the staff time, particularly around the holidays? I know there's sometimes absences and vacations and that sort of thing.
I think so.
So you're saying that the board doesn't necessarily have to determine the timeline. We could leave that to staff.
Well, the timeline in essence will be dictated in the RFP.
Right, but
I guess what I was
the
asking,
date when you issue the RFP, do we have to vote on that? And whether or not we're going to give notice to Republic, do we have to vote on that?
well, not yet.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to vote on that at this time. The January meeting would be the latest that you could vote on issuing the notice for the current agreement. So that staff could get it issued by February 1st.
But it kind of sounds like we should
We
be,
need to give them 120 days notice. It doesn't have to correspond with May 1st.
But that's when the contract.
well,
No, wait.
By the latest,
Yeah.
we have to give it by February 1st or whatever, but
The way I interpret and I apologize, I don't have it with me, but I believe that Ms. Piedmont-Smith is right, that it's at any point during the renewal term, either party, even after that 20-day notice, which is, you know, so if we issue this on, September 12th, 13th, Republic could provide that notice, and we got 120 days to get all this figured out.
yeah, I guess I agree with you that there's not much point in us issuing notice to Republic. They're going to issue.
No, because, and if they don't, and we get through the process and, decide that we are going to go a different direction, we just time the start of the new contract up with whenever that 120-day period ends. I mean, there's nothing in the RFP that says the contract will start on this date. We negotiate that with whichever offerors we want to negotiate with based on their response.
Okay. So do you want the board to weigh in on when to issue the RFP, or should we just say when you're ready?
I think given the other side of that 120-day notice, if the board is going to say on September the 12th that we want the RFP issued, it needs to happen now. I want to turn around and do it the next.
right, so we'll just say at your earliest
Yeah.
convenience or ability.
Okay, gotcha, because it's public. Unfortunately, I wasn't done with my typos. Typo alerts.
On the RFP,
Yeah. There was another one.
When's your packet, your deadline to get the packet out to the board?
well, I mean, generally, I get them out the Friday afternoon before, but they have gone out on the Monday.
Okay, so she has a few days.
Yeah, not something I want to make a habit of.
Right, but I'm just getting it. You have a couple days
Yeah.
left to get typos corrected before.
How many more do you?
I just have one other one.
Oh, okay. All right.
On page 54 of the packet, under item 7, selection of proposers, the second bullet point, it says proposers' willingness and ability, blah, 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 and to abide by the condition and requirements of the contracts. Wouldn't that be conditions, plural?
Yes.
And I do have one other one.
I don't know, she said one.
A woman can change her mind.
It's page 58. Equal employment opportunity statement. The very last word in number 5. Suspended in whole or in part, and the proposer may be declared ineligible for further proposers. It should be proposals.
Okay.
And then I had a substantive question that I brought up on June 3rd as well. And if we decided against it, then that's fine too. But I don't remember how we left it, and it's not in here. It was under the, again, the selection of proposers, top of page 54. In that bullet list, I had asked whether we can add as a criteria the total climate impact of the proposal or overall estimation of greenhouse gas emissions or something like that. You don't have to spell that out in order to use that, but it was something I brought up and I didn't remember whether anybody agreed with me or not. You see what I mean?
Yeah. So you're talking about the list of bullets of criteria that we would use to make the selection.
Yeah.
How would we even evaluate what they tell us?
I think I just wanted, I mean, we're not going to be able to say, oh, these people will emit 200 tons of carbon and these people will emit, we're not going to do any exact estimates. It's just saying that we're going to take into consideration how far they have to haul things, what kind of, how often, and all that kind of stuff.
And above the bullet points, it says will be based upon, but not limited to. And if it's a situation where, all things being equal, you're hauling 100 miles, you're hauling 50 miles, so we're going here. I think that statement allows us to justifiably make the decision based on that.
Although I see some advantage in actually saying it. I see what you're saying. That those sorts of criteria need to start getting incorporated into ONFPs. I mean, I guess the only question is, do we then, if this were in the federal government, in the world of the federal government, anything you put in like that can become a subject of protest. Vendors who don't get there, anything you put in with respect to evaluation criteria could be a point of argument.
And that's what comes to my mind is, somebody making the argument or demanding to see, how did you calculate that?
If we spell it out, we could still consider it, but then they wouldn't
But if
have a point.
if it comes down to, everything else appears to be equal, you're saying our carbon footprint is bigger than theirs, show me the math.
And then we'll argue it. Yeah, that's.
So they couldn't argue that if we do take it into consideration, but don't spell that out. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the argument is a little harder to make because I don't have anything specific to point out for their argument.
It's fine.
And in my example, if we said, we deemed everything to be equal except the hauling distance, so we're choosing the shorter hauling distance. There's really not much to argue there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to mention it.
Hopefully the shorter hauling distance would result in lower cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, regardless of whether it's, carbon footprint or, anything that's not straight obvious math, we should probably be prepared for
to defend it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
All right.
thank you. Anything else on the RFP? All right, this should be interesting. Let's move on to Garden Quest.
I apologize. I had intended to put a memo on top of this in the packet, but Pat Austin from Garden Quest, who also is our CAC chair, is here to present and discuss the proposal. Ask if you could move to this corner to be in camera view. And move my
Okay. Bear with me because this is not my strong suit, my forte. Ever since Earthkeeper shut down, the community's been looking for options of what to do with their food waste. And so for the past 2 years, Garden Quest has been running a neighborhood pilot program accepting neighbors' waste, food waste. Started out as just taking it in 5-gallon buckets, and then we transitioned 7 of the 10 neighbors, families, into the bokashi buckets. And so we've taken a couple thousand pounds of food waste and turned it into this sour smelling liquid fertilizer, and then cake, or it's called bokashi cake. It's the food waste after it's been pickled. And this is the wheat bran that's used to pickle the food waste. Okay. You can kind of smell this. It's a sweet and sour smell, pukey smell. So I'll leave that closed.
Thanks.
Um,
You can put it back in the bucket.
but it's an incredible fertilizer. It's made our food, produce sweeter, larger, and juicier. So talk about self-reliance there. And so we transitioned neighbors into layering their own buckets. And it's been very successful. And we've even had 2, I think we have 3 neighborhoods now, residents in 3 different neighborhoods that are compost captains, where we got a grant from IDEM, and we taught residents how to do the bokashi composting method, and then we provide support for them whenever they have questions. And those compost captains then got 3 of their neighbors to give them their food waste, thus layering it. And so we see this as an opportunity to have a decentralized model where food waste stays in neighborhoods. Then the next question was, well, how do we get this out? Because we're a nonprofit, it's my sister and me, right? There's not a lot of opportunity. So when Lotus contacted Purdue Extension then contacted Tom, and Tom wasn't aware of anybody working on the food waste issue, so he mentioned it to me. And so we started to say, well, how can we combine these? How can we figure this out? So I volunteered at Farm Aid last year, and that was a real eye opener because they had volunteers, and there was a trash bin, a food waste bin, and a recycling bin. And those volunteers were sitting there as people came up, and they were directing them which way to put it in. So I thought that methodology makes complete sense. And since Lotus asked, that's why we focused on Lotus. This is really more just an opportunity to apply bokashi composting to any and every festival, as many festivals as we can in Monroe County. We put Lotus in here because Lotus didn't have anybody to take care of their food waste. There was a request, and we said, well, let's see if we can push that. So it's not specifically focused on Lotus, it's focused on any festival and every festival, with the idea that this would also be promotion for the Compost Captains program, so we could get more neighbors who are already composting starting to do bokashi composting, so they can make their own fertilizer as well as their own cake. And the cake, today, for example, I took one of these buckets, I dug a little trench on the side of our blueberry bed. I put in the 21 pounds of food waste into that little trench, covered it back over. 3 months from now, that's going to be soil. Brilliant soil that it will then be feeding our blueberry plants. Our blueberries are already really sweet. Maybe they'll be a little bit sweeter, a little bit bigger. I don't know. But it's really nice to know that the food waste is staying right there. So that's the idea of the composting festival proposal, is to work with festivals that don't have an option of where the food waste is going to go, teach the volunteers, and then And then for the first festival, the idea would be for Garden Quest to take all the food waste and deal with it. After that, the idea was that we've contacted the community orchard, and we've already designated 3 or 4 different spots where we could dig bokashi pits. The board of directors with the community orchard is all for it. They just have to work with the arborist and whoever their other liaison with the city is to get approval for doing that. And then we also have a very small pilot with the community gardens. So we're going to take the food waste and we're going to amend the garden, one garden bed. The ultimate idea would be Lotus comes, we get 50, 100 buckets full, whatever it ends up being. And we, 2 weeks after Lotus, once we've taken the liquid out, the fertilizer out, we then take the food waste and we go amend every single bed or as many beds as we can in the community gardens. That way, come spring, the beds are amended, they have fresh soil, fresh nutrients in it, and you really close that circle on that food waste, keeping it in the community all while amending all these garden beds. So we see it as an excellent opportunity to address food waste, to also teach neighbors, residents how to do it on their own, so that people can be more resilient and sustainable, and that we're not relying on a single entity to deal with our food waste, because it was wonderful when they were here, but they fail for whatever reason it was, doesn't really matter, I love them to death. And then we're up a creek. So we're really looking at this decentralized model, and the festival is just a happenstance when it was passed to Tom and then passed to me, and we think that this is a great way to 2 birds with 1 stone, to get marketing about it, to get more compost captains and address the food waste issues at festivals.
So first of all, what are you asking for from us?
So we're asking for funding in order to buy the buckets, get them put together, and
Some of the brand, I think.
and the brand. Yeah.
And then how exactly would, I'm just trying to visualize it, Lotus, like, so I assume this would be where all the food trucks are
Yep.
normally? Okay.
Yeah, the idea would be we would have them stationed wherever the trash cans and recycling bins are anyways, have a volunteer there, and then we would have signage as well, explaining what this is and what we're looking for. And the nice thing about bokashi is, unlike traditional composting, you don't have to separate things. If you've got bones, if you've got meat, if you've got dairy, it all goes in. So it's a much simpler, right? It's a much simpler concept for people. You don't have to remove things.
Oils are okay.
Oils are okay. I mean, you're not gonna take a vat of oil, but
Yeah.
if you do it little by little, absolutely, it's totally fine.
And so these would be your volunteers, not Lotus volunteers?
These would be Lotus volunteers.
Oh, these are Lotus, okay. And so has Lotus already,
Lotus is interested.
but I mean, I have not seen, I mean, I'm actually on the committee that recruits volunteers, and I actually haven't seen this as a particular volunteer category. Have they
Yeah,
already?
because we've been trying to contact Lotus. We've been trying to get all our ducks in a row. It's probably not gonna happen for this Lotus.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
Because it's too close. I mean, we've been trying.
I can't issue a check that fast.
So this is more the idea for other, any and all festivals, having it ready to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go back
That's the idea.
to what you said initially, Lotus started this, so that's, but, if it's not happened this year, Lotus, but that doesn't mean if we move forward with it, that it's not something that's
It might-
available for Pride Fest next
Yeah.
spring, or, something like that.
And that would be the idea, is trying to use these buckets, 5, 7, 8, 10 times a year for that many festivals, making up the culture of Bloomington with festivals. We bokashi our food waste, and that goes to garden beds, growing beds all over, whether it's public or private, whatever it might be. And then we're as a community also making our own fertilizer, which is really, really good. So we're talking about, it encourages more people to grow their own food, to understand where their food waste is going, to take ownership of all that stuff and create 2 useful products out of it.
And they're not having to drive anywhere to pick stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've answered several of the questions that I had said to Tom. So it sounds like these pits are very, very narrow.
So you can make them as deep or as not deep as you want. So we have one in our chicken coop run area, right when we walk in. And so today I picked up the piece of plywood that we used to cover it, and there were a whole mass of black soldier fly larvae. So by doing this, we also create a protein source for our chickens. So for folks that have chickens in town, that's a win-win. You've got your food waste.
I didn't want to say that.
I get it.
But it makes sense.
It's absolutely brilliant. So once again, that self-sufficiency. We have a second one that's maybe a foot deep in another part of our chicken run, and we layer it with soil or dirt or whatever you want. You can do it with wood chips. It would just take a little bit longer. But the best way, hands down, is if you have a growing bed, is just to dig a trench, dump it in there, and just cover it. 3 months later, you've got soil. It's going to bring in all these worms, and it's absolutely incredible for the growing. So that's by far the easiest way. But we teach all this stuff, and we provide ongoing support because we want it to work, and we're so committed to it. And that's why we've been doing this pilot already for 2 years, to show them we got an item grant to teach it. So this is not our first foray into it. We already have the system set up, and we're now just looking to bring it to a wider audience.
Do you need an item license to do bokashi and scale that you're proposing?
Nope. Item has already visited us for their grant that they, I think it was an $1,800 grant for 3 10-person training sessions. So they've come down and they've looked at our property, and the item, it just comes up to 300 square feet of compost pits.
And there's no licensing required.
That's the threshold
It's the workaround.
for item for composting is 300 square feet. If the active composting area is 300 square feet or less.
And there's nothing item that we're aware of that where item talks about it being buried. So we're not burying it in the same place. Like I buried it, this is my blueberry bed. I buried here, I buried here, I buried here, and I buried here. Right, and you don't see it any longer because it's covered over with the soil.
And this is a method that's, the state hasn't considered when they've written the rules for composting. The state's more concerned about a traditional above ground composting pile. And they have, for whatever reason, determined 300 square feet is the size that would require them to supervise.
Industrial versus backyard.
Right. And the other I guess point that I should make with that is when we're bokashing this, it's anaerobic fermentation of food waste. So we're pickling it, right? So at the end, this is between a pH of 4 and 5, and animals don't want to eat it. They're not interested in it. Correct. So you don't really have to worry about that type of stuff. All we've seen is voles, because it's so loamy and easy to get through, that they dig through it, but that just helps with the process.
So you say in your proposal that you're also counting on $5,000 from the city through the BCOS?
Yep, I'm presenting that on next week.
Okay, so that we don't know whether that's going to come through or not.
The commissioners will vote yes on it. I'm very confident in that. It's just getting it through legal and that portion.
So is this a grant program run by the Commission on Sustainability?
Yeah, it's a working group grant.
Oh,
Yeah, we have a neighborhood grant program and we have a working group, and there's $10,000 in each one of those. And that money's going to be not used this year unless other people propose grants. So with it being over 50% over the year over, it makes sense to ask for the 5,000. And one of BCOS's goals is to collaborate with other entities, governmental, non-governmental, as well as encouraging commissioners to look for funding elsewhere. And so this fits directly with there. And I think that's part of the packet is my proposal to BCOS, which is a bit more extensive than what I wrote for this. And that collaboration is really what, and other people have to skin in the game makes sense when we're combining these. And then Sunbelt Rentals, Sunbelt is one of Garden Quest's sponsors, I guess. And they have committed to donating training and equipment. So we haven't asked them for this project yet, but we're going to, and we feel confident that we'll be able to get that. If not, then we will use funds to rent the equipment to dig the pits and whatnot.
So I know you're on the Commission on Sustainability and you're on the CAC
Right.
for us. So I just want to make sure the BCOS grants, are those advertised or is this something you know about because you're on BCOS?
So the neighborhood grant is advertised. The working group grant is just for BCOS. It's for working
Oh.
groups, for projects like this.
Oh.
And that's provided by the Economic and Sustainable Development.
So these other pits that aren't in your backyard, if you need equipment to dig them, how big then are those pits likely to be?
We're talking at like the proposed pits at the orchard would be like a 10 by 10. That's about the space they
And
have.
how deep are they?
Um,
I'm thinking about liability.
right, between 1 and 2 feet. And we cover them over with plywood or something.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
My next question.
If, but at 2 feet, and I mean, thinking of the time of year that we're in now, I mean, 2 feet is below, generally in southern Indiana, frost line's 18 inches. Does that have any impact?
No. During the winter, it'll take a little bit longer for it to turn to soil, but digging down provides more of a consistent temperature as well.
So, are you confident that you can get the volunteers that you would need for these different, because if I understand that Lotus came to you, but other festivals, you might be reaching out to them. But to me, that's a concern because it relies on those volunteers.
Right, so we're doing this at the Orange County Harvest Festival. This on the 14th of September. We're going out there next week to train 6 FFA students. We already have volunteers that volunteer at Garden Quest. We work with Community Transitions with MCCSC, if you're familiar with that. And so we have a base of volunteers already. Can I guarantee that? Absolutely not. Is this something that we're used to getting volunteers for? Yes. But if the volunteers if we can't find the volunteers, then we just won't do it at that festival and the funds won't be used for that.
So the other part is that the festival organization has to pay, right, to have this service. It looks like $2,500 or something.
Lotus doesn't have the money. It'd be an in-kind donation for Garden Quest. For everything that's not covered by the grant and the whatever other funds. So for festivals that do have the funds, absolutely. But we were hoping that with Lotus, which once again is going to happen this year, but let's say 2025, the marketing that Lotus could provide would help the Compost Captains program and get more folks in neighborhoods starting Okashi. That's really the festival, and dealing with the food waste of festivals is important, but we're really looking at this as a Kickstarter to more of the Compost Captains program. So we're trying to get 2 wins out of one project.
Do you envision
Out of one project.
any ongoing yearly costs? Because, I mean, you're going to have to buy more brand, you're going to have to dig more pits. I mean,
So after 3 months, the soil is fully usable. So you dig that soil out, you use it, and that pit's ready for more.
So you don't have to build any pits every year
No,
to continue this.
no.
But some of the,
Yeah, this is mostly startup costs.
okay. So this is not a question. I was at a couple of the meetings community meetings to discuss the design for the new convention center expansion. And they were talking about recycling, and I said, could you put composting things in there too? So I don't know that they will, but I think that there certainly should be the opportunity to approach them with things like this. To do this. I know it's not the neighborhood race that you're talking about, but I mean, we also have, the county has Willdale Park where we have gardens.
Correct.
In fact, the,
And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for partners that will allow us to use their space to do the pits, to do the bokashi, the end result. We're looking, I mean, there's a gentleman on the CAC that said, maybe you could cite a location on my private property. So that's what Porter County, they did a decentralized composting, or they're doing it right now. They have one person that's donated land and they have, I think, 20 families and they're taking in their layer. They're not doing bokashi, they're doing traditional composting. But that's the idea. We're building momentum, and that's what people see just how easy it is, because you don't have to separate all the stuff. It's not smelly. You keep the lid on, you get valuable products out of it. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to decentralize it to have residents, to have businesses, to have non-profits, governmental, non-governmental entities to be able to do, everybody be able to do this. But it's not something that we can rely on one. It's going to take, bit by bit, enrolling people and having Bloomington and Monroe County have a culture of dealing with their food waste in the best way possible.
but I'm sitting here thinking too, that one of the entities that uses Will Detmer is Hoosier Hills Food Bank. And to have improved produce for them would be a real benefit. They have volunteers that, at least some are interns and stuff that help with those. And certainly they at times have some fresh produce waste because the stuff that they get in,
Yeah.
kind of want to share with families. So I can see a lot of other sources.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of possibility with
Yeah.
this. It's just getting it off the ground and getting the marketing around it and enabling the knowledge to be out there so that residents of Monroe County feel comfortable, and then having the support when they do have questions.
So one of those buckets can handle how much food waste?
So at the 1 week point, we drain the liquid, and then at 2 weeks, we drain the remaining liquid, and then we weigh it before we take it out and we bury it. And so we're averaging between 17 and 25 pounds per bucket. And we've been keeping all these records. So we just say an average of 19 pounds per bucket.
Which is not a dry weight, that's a dewatered weight.
That's a dewatered weight, yeah. It's still wet in there, but yeah. And we usually get a quarter to quarter to 3/4 of a gallon of liquid fertilizer per bucket.
So, and it really is okay to put bones and meat and stuff like that in there? And so what happens with the bones?
So the bones, they don't break down as quickly, but once they've gone through a treatment and they're in the soil for 3 months, you can then just break them. Sometimes we'll put bones through a couple of times. Avocado pits, they come out and you crush them with your foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's really impressive.
I've never heard of that.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So at a festival where it wouldn't be this type of container where people would directly put food, right?
Ideally, that's what we'd be training the volunteers. They would have the brand right there. And so that's what we want. We want people to see how easy it is as part of the marketing.
So you would
Right.
need several of those at each station.
Yeah, that's why we're asking for 50. So we would have 2 at each station, 3 at each station, and they would literally dump okay, you've got some food waste, just scrape it right in here. You just take a tablespoon, sprinkle it over it, done.
So they don't put the like paper waste. So if you have you don't put paper waste, napkins and that sort of thing.
You can put napkins. It's just going to take longer to break down. But the paper waste, you have to rip it up.
Okay. So really that would go in the trash.
Yeah.
The food. Okay.
So, I mean, we do that. We do put the paper waste in, but once again, you have to rip it up and have it be in smaller increments. So that can be done.
And it's straight food waste, unlike traditional composting where you're looking to mix in leaves or grass clippings, urns.
Straight food waste and the brand in here. But once we get it, if you're going to put it, once it's 2 weeks in, you can put it into your regular compost pile if you want to and layer it in like you normally would.
Yeah.
Now you've got anaerobic versus aerobic, but it will heat your pile up faster and help it turn over quicker. So that's the other way. So you can do directly in your garden beds, you can do your own pits, or you can put it into your existing compost.
And that's something that we've talked about with the organic waste task force, because we have, for a short term, the task force has kind of zeroed in on that Porter County model that he was referring to, which is basically the same as captain program that is decentralized. We're keeping compost areas at the 300 square feet or less, and you get a group of 10 to 15 neighbors together, all go on the same pile. And if you have bokashi going on at the same time, you could, once the liquid's drained off of it, you could put the contents of the bucket in your traditional compost pile.
Pretty cool.
That's interesting.
So I'm wondering about the timing of your request to the solid waste district. When is the decision from BCOS coming? Do you know?
I'm presenting on next Tuesday. So the commissioners can approve it then, but then it still has to go to legal. So it'd probably be, Sean Mia said it wouldn't be able to be done by the time of this year's Lotus. So it would probably be 60 days would be my guess. But the idea would be to have the funds ready. I guess encumbered, I don't know if that's the right word, encumbered, so that for that next festival that we can do it as ready to go.
Do you think that the BCOS approval, will they make anything pendant on the waste district agreeing to do it as well?
That's what Sean already asked. We need commitment letters from others. And I'm like, well, how can I get commitment? When everybody's asking for a commitment, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the community's looking for solutions. We're the only one proposing a solution. What else? We've done a pilot for 2 years on our own. We've gotten funds from IDEM for this specific thing as well. Like, I don't know how much more commitment we can show.
I mean, you could always do like a contingent commitment letter. Like we could always say, we approve this contingent on getting BCOS approval, and they could do the same thing. And it kind of doesn't matter who goes first then.
Okay.
Both have to be, you have to have both to be able to have it take effect.
I think maybe,
I'm not familiar with these things, so.
yeah, and that crossed my mind too. We could always do but maybe given the timeline that Matt just spelled out, bring this to the board at the October meeting, that way we'll know where BCOS sits on it, which may very well be contingent on us agreeing to do it as well, and then still waiting for city legal, which obviously anything that we did would be contingent on that.
So the board meeting is on Thursday because it's on Tuesday.
That's what I said, wait till October,
Yeah,
board
the
meeting,
October meeting.
which would be,
I was just saying, it's within a few days, so we could discuss it at our board meeting, but you're right, the packet goes out way.
Yeah, it won't be in the pack. And I'm waiting till October. I mean, it sounds like if BCOS approves everything, you're still going to be dealing with city legal.
Right. Yeah, I asked for a waiver. I don't know if there's a waiver
What is-
possible.
Yeah,
to
I'm
get
curious
to-
what the legal issues are.
Sean basically said, not basically, she said that there were other things in line before this that legal had to get to, and that we couldn't skip the line.
What's legal have to approve?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
I have no idea.
Some kind of contract or MOU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Our legal would review anything like this too.
So,
Garden Quest has already been approved for a grant through BCOS for a neighborhood grant for a TerraCycle recycling pilot. So they're already registered, and that's not an issue.
How is this? I mean, I know, BCOS is approving the funding and stuff, but is that funding handled through Sean's office?
Yeah, to my knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, so, Sean and I did this before with the One Sustainable Joe stuff. So, I mean, we, memorandum of understanding between us and the city's Economic Sustainable Development Department is, we know how that works now.
right, and so it would be more convenient to have the payment like for One Sustainable Joe, the payment could come through the district and we get half the money from the city,
And that's, yeah, and that's something that Sean and I would have to discuss and,
or vice versa.
Which way it works.
right, which way is it gonna go? Because you got to look at, Lotus, Pride Fest, I mean, the city you think of, but there's Heritage Days and Harrodsburg, there's Fall Festival and now it's, so
Sure.
there are opportunities outside of the city where maybe it makes sense.
Truck Friday.
Yeah.
Food Truck Wednesday, which is in Owens.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so maybe it makes, just like with the Sustainable Joe, it may make sense for the district to manage it all because then the city's not directly funding activities outside the city.
Well, Food Truck Friday is a really good idea. It seems like that's a very low risk way to get started. Do you ever go out there or have you been to Food Truck Friday?
I've been there, but we've never just brought the buckets and said, hey, let's start doing it. We run an urban farm, so we have our hands full
Yeah.
with other things as well. And my niece's bat mitzvah is this weekend, so.
I suppose, I mean, that makes me just think, and I suppose it's still all organic, edible matter and material, but I mean, if you forget 90% fried food, I mean, that doesn't, all that grease and stuff, that doesn't have any impact. Okay. I don't know. Like I said, it's all organic and edible material, but.
We get neighbors that put mostly flowers with a little bit of food waste in there. We get, half a watermelon sometimes in there. I see this when I pour it out and bury it, right? We get fried chicken, I see pieces of meat. At the IU soccer game, there's a tailgate for the parents. I'm now collecting the food waste there as well as the recycling. There's sausages, cooked and uncooked, that's all on the ground. So,
Imagine IU football games, it's the tailgate that goes on.
Yeah, that would be in there.
All right, so we're thinking the October meeting.
It's
I think this is.
logical to me that timing should work for you.
that's fun. Yeah, I've reluctantly given up on Lotus this year. I was trying to push it, but it is what it is. Still, this is still a fantastic opportunity for other festivals as well. Any festival.
Yeah, that's too bad Lotus did this year.
So, any other questions?
So part of this is you're encouraging people to do this in their own neighborhoods. So where do they buy things? How do they do this? I mean, because it sounds like this is as much promotional as anything else.
Right. So we've tried different kinds of bokashi buckets and we found that this round one, I think it is the best. They get from bokashicycle.com. Yeah, and we, Garden Quest, I say we, I mean Garden Quest will provide the training and the ongoing support because we want it to work. We've been doing it for 2 years. We're committed. We figured out all the little kinks to it. And we want this to be as easy as possible for folks.
And the training classes, people pay for that.
With the item grant, no.
No? How long is the item grant?
The item grant was for 30 households being trained. We're only able to do one of those out of the 3 trainings because we're in a battle, a zoning battle. Right now, the city of Bloomington,
I'm aware.
they're not allowing us to teach anything in our home or on our property. So we can do it elsewhere, but it just takes longer. So, it'd be great to be paid for training. But yeah, and the training for the volunteers is in the grant for that specific thing. But after that, what we're hoping is we want to be the trainers. So we want to train other people and then those people in their own neighborhoods start training. And then we provide support to them. We're not trying to be earth keepers. We're trying to be the experts that train everybody else, turning them into experts.
I'm excited.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I hope it works.
All right, so we're now at the anything else phase of the meeting.
Good one.
Okay.
Just kind of a heads up for next week. you'll recall, beginning of this year, we changed phone service providers, and internet service providers, Comcast, and part of the agreement to doing that, Spectrum, the new provider, was going to pay. We had an early termination fee with Comcast. Our contract wasn't up, so they were going to pay that. And what happened was they didn't charge us for the first 3 months of service, which in essence equaled about what that payout was. Well, now all of a sudden we have collection notices from Comcast because it never got paid. So you are going to get requests, a check request for approval to debt collection service, IC Systems, which is the termination fee from that Comcast contract.
That's irritating.
They never billed us and now all of a sudden it's in a collection agency.
Well, they did bill us and I said, we've terminated service. It was a very frustrating process with Comcast. And
As it generally is to quit. They are notorious for making it difficult.
That's an SNL skit about it.
so in essence, it's part of it's probably a misunderstanding on my part that I thought Spectrum, because Spectrum in essence piggybacks on Comcast. It's like Cricket Wireless, it's Sprint or whichever cellular service they piggyback. And they said they were going to cover the termination costs. I thought, okay, but they do all the switchovers with Comcast, they'll deal with all of that. No, what I found out was that I went back and looked.
Instead, it's 3 months worth of credit.
They in essence gave us $1,200 credit right off the top on our bill, and we weren't billed for 3 months, and yet that charge with Comcast remained outstanding. And it went back and forth with Comcast. All that they ever said was, here's the termination date, here's the fee. And I said, but it's supposed to be covered. And whoever, the rep that I talked with didn't want to understand or couldn't understand what I was trying to say. And they quit responding to me, bills quit coming, and then all of a sudden we get a collection notice.
So is there anything we can do?
I offered, I was given the opportunity to offer for a different amount, and my offer was, well, here's the termination date, here's when the equipment returned, and I'll pay for 1 month of service after that,
Well, I mean, okay, so are we paying a penalty because this is going through the collection agency? Okay, well then, so it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's just embarrassing to have to send it to
Have to
us.
pay it
Yeah.
for 3 months.
No, the amount the collection agency wants is the same as what was on the last bill received from Comcast.
But the bill from Comcast is asking us to pay for 3 months that
That we didn't have.
we didn't
No,
use.
it's a termination fee.
Oh.
I offered, my offer to them was, okay, this is one additional month of service would have been this.
And Spectrum essentially covered that termination fee, except they gave it to us in the form of billing credits rather than cash to Comcast.
We did all the switch over. My interpretation was they were going to deal with Comcast and pay it and they cover it, but no, they credited us the money and the bill never got paid. So I apologize for all of that, but that will be, they're not on the vendor list. It's got to go to the board meeting, and I'm sure that's going to generate some questions. So that's what it is.
Let's do that.
Well, at least I understand. Okay. All right, anything else for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned. All right.